Hey guys, welcome back to Strength 101, the podcast where we break down fitness and nutrition into its simplest forms so that you can get the results that you want. And I'm back with Matresa. It's been a while, Matresa.
Woo!
What you been up to?
What have I been up to? I don't know, not here. No, I'm just kidding.
Just vacationing everywhere?
Yeah, I wish. I've just been in the behind the scenes in our trailer.
Yeah, and it is your birthday today, so happy birthday.
Thank you.
What are you going to do for your birthday?
What do I do for my birthday? Well,
Maybe not today, but what you got going on this weekend?
I'm going on my first plane ride ever to Colorado. Shout out to my friends in Colorado if you ever listen.
How old are you now?
I'm 26 today.
26, never been on a plane.
Yeah.
What's going to happen? Or what are you most terrified about?
Going through TSA.
Seriously?
Yeah.
Why? You got drugs?
Well, no. I mean, I might and I don't even know it. No, I'm just kidding.
Okay.
That's
I'll
what I'm
plant
most worried
something
about.
for you.
Yeah.
Yep. Well,
Thanks.
if a dog comes up to you, freeze. You'll be fine though. It's more like the takeoff and the landing and the potential for crashing you have to worry about.
Yeah, see, I don't worry about that.
The
If I die, I
turbulence over
die.
the Rockies.
Yeah, that might be a little rough.
You'll be fine though.
Well,
It'll be
hopefully I'll be back next week to tell you guys how it went. If I'm
If
back.
not, then we'll put an in memoriam at the beginning of this episode. So you guys know if you just saw an in memoriam for Matresa, then you know that this is the last word she ever spoke on the podcast. But
So bad.
that's not what we're here to talk about. Today we're going to go over how can you choose a gym? What's the right gym for you? Let's say you're somebody who's listening to this podcast and you don't have access to a strength academy where we focus on strength training as our primary goal, putting muscle mass on people and making them stronger. There's a lot of great franchises out there, but it's really hard to figure out which one is best because there's so many of them now, which I'm psyched about. I think over the last couple decades, fitness has become so much more mainstream and popular, and that only helps, one, people who want to get fit, but two, it helps us as people who like to coach, and me owning a gym. It just seems like more and more great options are popping up, and at least something I've noticed is that I think compared to like my generation compared to yours, fitness wasn't, and being in the gym wasn't as popular for my generation. Definitely not my parents.
Yeah.
I'm 36. You're turning 26 today. It's way more popular. And I would say even like the generation below you, it seems like all the high school kids want to be in the gym now.
It is, and I think it's the coolest thing ever because even when I was younger, it was pretty, well, I shouldn't say absurd, but it was not very common that we would lift. You know, if anything, we'd be skipping lifting in high school when we should have been in sports and stuff. So it is.
Well, and
definitely
you only
a big
did
thing.
it for sports, I'm sure, right? Like,
Yeah,
was there any
never did
reason
it
to lift
outside.
if you weren't in sports?
No, I always thought it'd make me slower.
Yeah.
In my sports, which is really stupid.
I lifted for football and we barely lifted for track, but our basketball coach refused to let us lift because he thought it would just make us slower and we wouldn't be able to jump as high or we get too bulky to shoot.
Really?
Screw up our shoulders. Yeah. So I would always go after practice and lift on my own. I was the only one in the gym.
You're a, rebel.
I was a bro.
You're a bro.
I was a singular bro. But like, did your parents go in the gym at all?
No.
Never?
Never, no. My dad's manual labor, so he always thought that was his workout, which I'm not saying it's not, but he never really did strength training.
He's strong.
Yeah.
My dad lifted all the time. My mom, I've never seen work out aside from taking a brisk walk.
Yeah.
My dad has lifted his entire life, but I wouldn't be
so cool.
surprised if he's never set foot in a commercial gym other than coming here. And so I think that's probably the part that's most popular is people are actually looking for a place to go with a community that they can actually get fit, they can get help. And I would say probably Instagram helped that a ton.
Oh, for sure. Yeah,
because, the new generation, you just see like, all the popular people, they're not just popular, they're also fit. It just seems like it's the cool thing to do, which is, it's only good. It's only good for our health.
For sure.
But there's a ton of awesome franchises out there. So we're going to go one by one through these of the most popular ones and kind of give you our opinions on it of whether like what we think's good about it, what we think maybe you need to watch out for, because not everyone's going to be a fit for your goals. And there's different types of people that go to these gyms, but let's kick it off, right? Orange Theory. You been there before?
I have been Orange Theory. Just in December was my first time I ever went.
Okay. Tell us about it. What's their whole thing that they got going on there?
Yeah. I thought it was really interesting. So they have rowers, they have treadmills, and then they also have dumbbells. So you do, I can't really remember, but I want to say it was like 20 minutes of strength training. The day I went, I think it changes every day. 20 minutes on the treadmill, and then I think we did some work on the rowing and more of a warm-up. So that breakup, it was interesting because it was a part of cardio, part of lifting, and then a little bit of rowing, which I guess is also cardio. But what was intriguing to me is that the coach wore like a microphone. And like, I know I've never done that coaching here, but it was really interesting. They had a microphone. They'd cue you on everything. And it was really neat.
Did you hear the coach pretty well?
I could actually, yeah.
Okay.
But I also had a smaller class.
Sure.
So maybe that makes
I had a little trouble hearing the coach when I was there. I've only gone once as well. I had a little bit of difficulty, but also I think it's your first time, it's all chaos in your head. And so
Yes.
maybe if you go there frequently, then you hear the coach better. But
I mean, I liked it. It was definitely just different from what I'm used to. I was for sure like pretty shot by the end of it. Like I was definitely did a hard workout.
yeah, I'd say the thing they're most known for is their running. Like Orange Theory is really cardio heavy. They give, at least they encourage, and when you go for your first time, they give you a heart rate monitor so that you can see your heart rate on the screen, and then they have a whole way that they gamify it so that you can earn.
I liked that.
What do they call it? Splat points, I think.
Yep.
Something like that. But that you earn splat points, and so if you keep your heart rate in, whatever percentage of the calculation they do for your age, then you start to earn points faster. And so it kind of incentivizes you to go hard. And in my experience, I had the same thing when I went. There was a little bit of a lifting section where I'd say we did some like renegade rows, and maybe we did some like some plank twists. So it wasn't like maybe some goblet squats. It wasn't a ton of really strict lifting, but it was definitely movement with weights. I did that section first, and then I went to the rower, and I was on the rower. They are water rowers, which are a little bit different. Those are fine. I'm sure some locations have different ones. I love rowing. I wish we did more of it here. And then I went on to the treadmill, and this is where it screwed me. So I'm not necessarily a runner. I used to be in the past, but I don't run super well anymore. And all of a sudden we're getting towards the end of class, and I'm starting to pay attention to the screen and those splat points.
Yeah.
And there's like a 50-year-old lady next to me, and I can see on the screen, because it's in lanes, that she is crushing me on the splat points. And so I just went harder than I ever should have and completely sold out to beat her.
Did you beat her?
I beat her. She didn't care. It was totally just for my ego.
It's all on you, yeah.
But I think especially if you're competitive, like, people will love that.
Well, it's great. And I think with that too, also, if you're listening to this and you're like, well, I don't like to run, they definitely don't tell you like you have to run. They'll give you like, oh, you can go to a specific level to walk, or maybe it's like a faster walk. And I did appreciate that, because we had people of all different ages and, active levels for sure. And I thought that was nice that I preferred to run. I actually liked it more than I thought I would, because I used to run. I don't really much now, but I forgot how much I liked it when I did it. But I also liked to see everybody else, if they didn't want to, they were still walking and still moving, which is awesome.
Which that's what's great about classes, right? It's like if you don't run very often, you go to a class, you're not going to say no. Yeah, sure, you might be able to walk on an incline or something. But I would say for anybody who's looking into Orange Theory, that is a key part of what they do. And so if you want to get better at running, or you are an avid runner, that's totally a great option, especially let's say we're in Wisconsin and it's cold half the year, and you don't want to go out and run on the streets. That's definitely a great place to do it. I would say, though, that that's what it is. It's mostly cardio work. I think that that's probably the biggest downfall for Orange Theory. It's a really clean place. It's really well organized. They're a very successful franchise. They recently got bought out by the conglomerate that owns Anytime Fitness as well. So they're run by a really big company. And so everything's extremely efficient and very clean, well run, but it is mostly cardio. And so I think it would be very difficult for most people to stack on additional muscle mass or get much stronger in something other than maybe their rowing or their running, because those are so specific. And yes, you're going to get better at those just by doing them. But if the goal is to put on a bunch of muscle mass in your arms or your chest or your back or even your legs, aside from maybe the initial pump and improvement that you get from running more, I don't know that that's the place you're going to go to look like a bodybuilder.
Yeah.
But that's okay, because it's not built for those type of people.
No. Exactly. Yeah. I think one more thing to knock on that one is the community is really awesome. Like, everyone was really friendly when I went there. Granted, I'm sure locations are different, but you can tell that they obviously preface that to their coaches, and I'm sure to the members as well. So I really liked that. Like, everyone's like, oh, like, welcome in, like, you're new, or, they didn't realize that you don't come there all the time. So I appreciated that. The community is really cool.
They do. They have a unique mix of where it feels like if you went there frequently and you didn't want to talk to a bunch of people, because they have you in lanes and it's kind of like a little more dimly lit, you could hide out if you want to, and you don't have to socialize. But at the same time, there's so many people you're going to see over and over again, and the coaches are really social, that it can be a social outlet for you. So that's something that I'd say that is a benefit for them, is if you want to say you're a little more introverted and you just want to go get a workout in, but you still want the coaching, you can totally do that there. Here, you can't hide from the coaches. There's no hiding unless you go into the bathroom and lock yourself in there, and then everybody's like, somebody's in the bathroom and they're talking about you. But that's the only downfall I'd say, is that you're not going to put on a bunch of new muscle, and obviously that's important to us. So otherwise, the only other thing I'd mention is running often, I think, is where people start trying to work out again. But if you haven't run in a long time, especially if you've had a desk job or if you've got 50 extra pounds on you and you think you're just going to go start running, that can be super hard on the body because you just spent years where you haven't been prepping your feet, ankles, and knees to handle that. Then even with the treadmills with a little bit of shocks on them and they're nice to your body, it's still going to be pretty tough. And so I would say if you're going from 0 to 60 and you're starting Orange Theory, you might be prepared to take several days off between classes to make sure you recover well.
Yeah. No, that's a very good point.
But other than that, like if you don't have other things around, there's an Orange Theory near you and you're looking to get moving, go. It's a good community.
Yeah, and your first class is free, so you might as well try it out.
Heck yeah. Next one, F45. You ever been there?
No, that's one place I'm still very curious to check out.
So F45's similar but different. They don't have lanes like they do at Orange Theory. It's a very LA vibe at F45. I say LA even though it came out of Australia.
Yeah, give us that. What does LA vibe mean?
Oh, it's kind of fancy, right?
Okay,
it's like it's a
more
little
sense.
bit upscale. It's definitely a little bit more on the expensive side. It's very clean. I think that even the CEO is known to say that they want it to be like the Apple Store of fitness. And so it's very tech savvy. It's very clean and organized, some bright neon lights, and it's definitely made for you to take some pictures there and maybe like see that person that looks like an Instagram model in their sports bra working out there. That being said, there's still plenty of people that are just, there to get a good workout in, and it's not all about that, but that's definitely the look and the vibe there. I can speak to F45 a little bit more because I actually worked for F45 when I was in Arizona. I helped open a studio down there and then spent some time in some studios that are already up and operating. And I think what they do really well is, once again, they're community focused, just like Orange Theory. And because there is no lanes, and because maybe you're going to partner with somebody, then you're going to get to know more people. It's very similar to what our dynamic strength is. And since I work there, our dynamic strength is almost exactly the same as it. It's HIIT workouts, so high intensity interval training that's station based and everything's time based. Almost everything. Now they do have their cardio days or I can't remember what they call them, cardio, endurance, whatever, and they have their strength days. However, even their strength days are more like, hey, you're gonna lift for 40 seconds. They don't give you reps or weights to hit or anything like that. So while I would say it's better than Orange Theory for building muscle, because if you consistently try to pick up heavier weights and try to move those weights for 45 seconds, you're going to get a good, depending on the movement, 10 to 20 reps in. For sure. And that would be really good for putting on muscle mass. However, you get short rest times, and that's always going to be the limiting factor for people to put on muscle. But they do a phenomenal job with the tech side of things. That's where we have TVs in our gym because they had TVs, and I thought that was the best way to run a system where the movements were on the board. You're still coaching, but it frees up the coaches to actually go around and coach instead of having to herd cats the entire time.
Sure.
Which Orange Theory has screens too. It's just a little bit different because you're in a lane.
Yeah.
It's a little bit more sterile.
You're not really following it as much. Like quite frankly, even there, I thought it was hard to follow the TVs. So I'd be curious to check out F45 because I thought, is it stand for like functional?
Yeah, functional 45.
Yeah, so functional 45 minute
how
workout.
I feel. I don't know what the heck functional means.
I always thought in my head it was like functional strength training. I didn't know that it was actually HIIT workouts. Just in my head, I thought it was legit strength training for 45 minutes.
Almost everything is station based. You're going to come in and you're either going to be with a partner or you're going to be solo in a station. You're going to move throughout the room, and it's all going to be timing based.
Interesting.
And so they change up the timing significantly. But my biggest gripe when I was there is I'm so coaching heavy, and I wanted to teach people how to squat correctly, and I wanted to teach people how to deadlift, and I wanted them to get stronger. The hard part about coaching there was that I felt like there was no option for me to stop a class and be like, hey, everybody's deadlifting incorrectly. Let's talk about this for like 3 minutes and then get back into the workout, because franchises are really well organized. So it was very timing oriented. And if I did that a few times, and it was very frowned upon by ownership.
I think that's crazy. I'm not talking bad. I just think that's crazy.
No, it is, and it's a good system, but because I had worked there, when I started Strength Academy, it was like, hey, how do we do all the things that they did really well, but then correct the one thing that they weren't very good at, which is true strength training and actually focusing on putting on muscle mass as the primary objective instead of just getting an elevated heart rate. That being said, if you're a fan of cardio HIIT workouts, like you're going to go there and you're going to get your butt kicked. Yeah. For sure. You're going to know that you worked out. You're going to be drenched in sweat. Your heart rate's going to be elevated. And they also do something with the heart rate monitors. So if you really want to see your heart rate and you want to get points based on that, they have somewhat of a competitive element there.
Okay. And I mean, they have a good community base, it sounds like, though, too, huh?
For sure. It feels smaller than an Orange Theory, I would say, because I think Orange Theory is just generally the building's bigger. Sometimes some of the people are wrapped around a corner. A lot of the F45s are one big like rectangle. And so you can see everybody that's in the class, and they do a ton of variety of movements. And so you're going to see a ton of variety of equipment. They are going to do pull-ups and stuff. And so they have a really good base. My only gripe with them is that they just don't focus on actually giving enough rest time to strength train appropriately. It's too much timing based, so that let's say you could get a really good strength stimulus in the beginning of the workout, but then by the end of the workout, if you get over to your bench press and you're already that drained, you're probably not pushing heavy enough weights to really grow your chest anymore.
Yeah.
So there's just some shortcomings, and that's what we were trying to fix when we opened this. So
yeah.
But yeah.
Well, it's all about the experience of that, and picking what you like and what you don't from places like that. Interesting.
And there's a ton of F45s around. I mean, they clearly are doing really well. I think they're in some ungodly amount of countries, like 130 countries or something like that. So
I've never heard of them until like 2 years ago.
Yeah. Well, you only find a lot of these franchises you're only going to find in urban areas, right?
That's true.
So
I mean, I think there's one in the Twin Cities, but I think that's it.
Yep. I think they might have one in Stillwater, and that's not too far from here. So maybe we need to go over there one time and just do a team workout or
I'd
something.
like to try it out
And see what it's like. See what we can pick up.
Cool.
What about Burn Boot Camp? You ever been there?
I have not, but I have a lot of friends that go to Burn Boot Camp, and they really, really enjoy it.
Yeah. What do they like about it?
They like the community base. They like just showing up and like being told what to do, not having to make up their own workouts. But I've also been told that they enjoy like what the variety of workouts are. And I guess they post like days before of like today's a strength day or today is a cardio day. And I don't think Orange Theory does that. I feel like you show up and
I'm
day
not
of.
Sure. Ooh,
I don't know if someone can correct me on that, but I know that's something they appreciate is they knew what they're going into. But I think also it probably steers them away if they don't want to do it.
And they do. My sister goes there, so I have a little bit more.
Okay.
And I just recently took a Burn Boot Camp class when I was out in North Carolina with her. Really fun.
Did you do the strength or cardio?
There's some things I think that they do extremely well, and there's some other things that I have gripes about that, because I love what we do. But they had a massive class. So when I walked in the door, their gym was much bigger than ours. I'd say it was probably a good 3,000 square feet of like a big open box.
Okay.
But their thing that's way different than any other place is they have a springboard floor. And so you go and you step up maybe 1.5 feet onto like a gymnastics floor.
Oh.
You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
Like the
I didn't know
felt
they had
on
that,
it.
really?
Yeah, which is I thought it was gonna be weird, but then I go on it and I'm like, I'm like a little kid, so I'm jumping up and down, and I realize, oh, this is amazing on our joints. And so the day that I was there was on a Saturday, and there had to have been over 40 people there.
In the class?
I don't think they put a limit on how many people can go, and so that part was a little bit chaotic. Now it was a Saturday.
Did you have?
There was 2 coaches. There was one person on a microphone. She was very difficult to hear. I'll say that. And even like their explanations, because they don't have any screens in there, everything was written on whiteboards at the stations. And if you didn't catch it the first time around, which it was my first day, so I didn't really catch exactly what we were doing because it was kind of complex. And I had to keep asking like 30 times. And the coach was, one coach per 40 people. So it was kind of hard to get information. Luckily, my sister was there, and I'm sure that they rely on that peer tutoring.
Yeah. Oh, I'm sure.
But the springboard was awesome. We were there on an athletic conditioning day, and so we did a ton of like plyometric, like drop into a squat and then do hip twists. And they had some hurdles that we were doing, basically like high knees and stuff over. If I had done that on a regular gym floor, I would have been wrecked for a week and a half. I actually felt pretty good the next day. And I think it's all because of that springboard.
Yeah, that's really neat. I never knew that. That's cool.
They do have pull-up bars there and stuff. They have a ton of variety of equipment, battle ropes and slam balls and boxes. And I know they have weights, but I was there on an athletic conditioning day, so we didn't mess with them at all. I know they have strength and cardio days, though. So they definitely have strength days. I believe it's still timing-based, like F45.
I think you are right on that. Yeah.
It does feel like Burn Boot Camp is like the up and coming one, though. It seems like that's the one that's gaining popularity. I just feel as though people are talking about it all the time. I believe when it first started, it was women's only. Like only women were allowed to go to Burn Boot Camp. I think that's where its roots are. It's not like that anymore.
Yeah.
Still, I think when I went there, it was probably like 3/4 female. But that's tradition. That's classes in general are more female than male. Guys don't like to ask for directions.
Yeah. Oh, we know.
But God, where was I going on that? Oh, because it was women based at first. Every single Burn Boot Camp has a daycare, and so they have a daycare attached to it. That's free. It's included in your membership. They only have one membership, and it's unlimited for whatever $160 a month or something. But it includes the daycare, and so you can always drop your kids off and go to your workout.
I think that's really cool.
Yeah,
that's something more gyms should be doing.
Yeah, and so I think you can, of the 3 that we've talked about, you can get a great workout at any of them. But if your big constraint is how the heck do I get time to go away from my kids? That's got to
a
be
good
the
spot.
top option if one's near you. It might even be worth driving a certain distance just to be able to drop your kids off and get your workout in.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
That's really cool, actually.
Yeah.
That's a big asset. Okay.
What about, let's talk about big box gyms for a little bit. What's some big box gyms that you've been a member at? 24/7 gyms.
Anytime Fitness
Okay.
and Planet Fitness are the two that I've been a
Okay.
part
You've
of.
been Planet Fitness?
Yeah.
Set off the lunk alarm?
Is that real? No, I never have. Is that a real thing?
I don't know. I see it on YouTube.
Yeah,
They
I
can't put
don't
anything on
know.
the internet. That's not true.
Because they say that like if you drop your weights or if you're really loud with the weights that the alarm goes off. I just don't know if that's real.
I don't know if it's something where there's an actual sensor or if it's like for like the Karens of the world to go and, sorry, Mom. My mom's name's Karen. For the Karens of the world to go like hit a button on you
Yeah.
because they think you're being a D-bag.
Yeah, I have no idea.
I don't know either.
But it does make me wonder. I mean, so no, I've not had that happen.
So what about
But-
somebody's considering going to a big box gym, a 24/7 gym? Why should they go there?
Well, I would say if you aren't interested in group fitness and the timing doesn't work for you at a lot of gyms, because I will say one thing we did not really talk about is the timing can really make a big difference for you on gyms, on these big box
Yeah.
gyms we're talking about, or not box gyms, the group fitness gyms. Because if their schedule doesn't fit with your schedule, well, so I'd say like a big box gym might be better for you for 24 hours. At least you know if, I don't get off work till 7, I can get into my workout then, or if you get up early in the morning. But the biggest thing I'd say there, it's really hard if you do not have a program for yourself, because if you're just going in there and dinking around, that's also very not motivating too. You know, it's harder
Yeah.
to get yourself in there.
Yeah, they kind of a lot of those places they try to get you in with a personal trainer because I think they understand that that's a problem.
Oh yeah,
And so, but that costs money.
yeah.
And so,
It does that not doesn't get included in your membership, does it? Do the
No.
classes at those places?
I'm sure some of them do, but I
Mm-hmm.
think the biggest pull for those big box gyms, and this is like they have the Heinz ketchup model. They make money off of like Heinz ketchup. The joke is that they don't make money off of the ketchup you use. They make money off the ketchup that you can't get out of the bottle. And so like that's their margins because then you have to buy again.
Yeah, that okay, that makes sense.
You know, big
That's
box
funny.
gyms like Planet Fitness, anybody who's competing for lowest price, like $20 a month, $10 a month,
There, for sure.
their bet is that they're going to get a ton of signups at a low price, and that 90% of those people are never going to set foot in the gym. So it doesn't cost them anything to service those people.
Yeah,
The people that I'm sure the business people at the top of Planet Fitness don't like are the ones that actually use the gym.
yeah.
But if you're going to use the gym, and you have an idea of what to do, or let's say you use the Strength Academy app to do programming, or any app that you find that has good programs,
That's perfect.
and you can get over that hump of feeling fine being in a big gym, price wise, it's a no brainer.
Yeah. Oh, for sure. I mean, I wouldn't agree more with that, especially since you can pop in there at any time. That's one thing I've appreciated about those type
That's
of
why
gyms.
they call it Anytime.
Yeah, Anytime Fitness, because Planet's not even open 24 hours, at least the one's not here. But
Yeah.
that's why Anytime is cool, and I know they're like all over the world too. So you
Well,
can
and
use that anywhere.
a lot of the big ones have all these amenities, right? Like you can get a pool and a sauna and a
Yeah.
hot tub and basketball court. And
Like Lifetime. Lifetime's definitely the
Oh,
one more
geez.
like that.
Yeah.
Have you ever been to a Lifetime?
I have been. They're
Okay,
insane.
yeah,
Now,
yeah.
Lifetime, definitely not cheap.
No.
I think if you're going to Lifetime and you have any of the extra stuff going on, it's easy to spend $200 a month at a Lifetime.
Oh, for sure.
But they're like the gold standard for 24/7.
I mean,
gyms.
they are pretty dang cool. Like I've been to one once, and I was like shocked of just all the stuff they had in there. But
They're borderline. There was one in Biltmore, which is a really fancy area of Arizona near
Oh.
Scottsdale,
okay.
and that thing was like a damn resort.
Yeah.
Like, it was. A lot of people just had a membership so they could take their kids to the pool, and there's like a restaurant next to the pool and like all this stuff. It was
That's
more a
crazy.
result, you know,
Yeah.
or a resort. It's like they're there for the juice bar and the tanning beds and the pool, not necessarily the weights, which is
Everything
fine.
else. Yeah. I mean, if you're paying for it, do what you want.
Yeah. So I think the biggest benefit to the big box gyms is they just have so much equipment. Like this
Yeah.
last weekend, I've been trying to rehab my knee from that ACL tear a long time ago, and I know that I need to do some more isolated movements, strengthening up my quads and my hamstrings to protect the knee.
Yeah.
And in our gym, it's harder for us to do that because we're more, even though I hate the term, we're more functional fitness. We don't have a lot of machines. It's a lot of free weight.
Yeah.
And so it's hard to isolate those. And so I went to a big box gym that was near here. Shout out Midwest Health and Fitness. It's a smaller gym that's just up the road from us. And I was able to actually get on machines and isolate that. Having not been in a big box gym in a while, there's no better way to build muscle than using machines and
Oh,
cables.
And that's so true because so many people harp on machines.
Yeah.
And I'm like, no, they're actually way better than you think for a beginner or not.
Yes.
Like, and for a beginner, it's very safe. But also, if you're not a beginner, for someone like you, like you're saying, you're very well advanced, like, and you can isolate and everything. That just puts the icing on the cake. That
Yeah, it
Machines
locks
are-
you into a certain movement pattern. You can isolate the muscle super
Yeah.
well. Yeah, I think if your goal was just there's a reason bodybuilders don't train at CrossFit studios, right?
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
because there's no machines there, and they know that if they really want to isolate muscles and grow, there's
Mhm.
nothing better than a machine. And so I'd say if your goal is really like put on a bunch of muscle mass, then you could show up not knowing anything at a big box gym and just run through the machines and be like, I'm going to hit a chest one, then I'm going to hit a back one, then I'm going to hit an arm one, and you'll grow for a long time just doing that type of stuff, just trying to get stronger.
For sure.
Yeah. Yeah, and like you said, the lunk alarm's real?
Lunk
All right.
alarm's real?
Stettler just piped in and said the lunk alarm is real. Tell us more about it, dude.
Basically, an employee actually activates it if they want to give a warning to somebody.
Oh, okay. So it's
Really?
activated by an employee.
If they want to give a warning to somebody.
Yeah.
Oh, that
Her
would be kind
name's
of funny
Karen,
to
though.
have that job, just to mess with it. What did you say?
I said her name's Karen, though, the employee.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That'd be kind of fun, especially if you had someone in there that you're like,
I've seen. You ever see the YouTube videos where it's the strongman or whoever, like Eddie Hall and Brian Shaw? They go in and try to set the lunk alarm off.
no.
So
Do
they'll
they-
like max out the chest press machine and get it until it's like moving and rocking on the floor, and they try to get the lunk alarm set off on them.
Does it get set off?
I'm sure it does. Otherwise, it'd be a terrible video. But
Yeah, well, I want to hear the rest of it.
yeah.
Oh, that's funny. Okay.
But yeah.
Noted.
So the in summary, the big box gyms, if you want to go to one of those, it's by far the most economical. You should try to have a plan though. Like get a
Yeah.
plan. You could easily buy a membership that costs you $30 a month at a 24/7 gym, and also go online and find a program for $30 a month, and you could be spending $60 and be well on your way. Whereas if you go to a group fitness studio, you may be $150 in every single month. Yeah, you don't get the coaching, you don't get the community. I think it's really hard for places like that to actually develop a community.
For
'Cause
sure.
it's more people just being headphones in and just grinding it out.
Mm-hmm.
But even that, if you were to join the classes in those places, I'm sure those are community based too.
Yeah, it is nice that they offer that type of stuff too, which I did forget. So
I'm kind of itching to get back in a big box gym.
I know they're fun.
I
They're
think we
they're
should.
a
I
good
think we
time.
should build one. What do you think?
Should we build one? I'm down.
Might as well. We just
Yeah.
got to find some space.
YOLO. Do you know what
Yeah.
YOLO means?
Yeah, I do know what YOLO means. It means yellow, right? Like caution. I'm just kidding. You only live once. YOLO's from my generation.
I'm so
we
proud of
we
you.
made that.
No, you didn't.
Yes, we
okay.
did. All
Drake
right.
made that.
Speaking
Going on
of
anyways.
YOLO, or you only lift once, maybe would be the motto here. What about
Are
CrossFit?
we going into CrossFit? I knew that's where you're going to
you
go
knew
into.
it. So, not to trash on them, but yeah, what's your experience with CrossFit? Had you have much?
I mean, I have not necessarily like been to a CrossFit gym myself. We had a coach in the past that was really into CrossFit, and I was taught some movements and stuff by them, and I was shocked of how it was hard. Like, it's definitely not something I'm interested in.
Mhm.
I think I give a lot of people credit to do it because it is very hard, and it's for sure not for everybody. That's really all I can say about it.
And I do think that's their big thing. Now you have to separate what's the professional CrossFit and what's kind of glamorized on Instagram
Yeah,
and
true.
the competitive side of it from the actual communities. And I think they've actually had a hard time doing that as a brand because they went so hard on putting these elite athletes on a pedestal. And of course, now they have massive steroid use steroid allegations and all this stuff.
Good
But
one.
guys, if there's prize money on the table, people are using steroids. Let's live in the real world here.
Newsflash.
Newsflash, yeah, and you don't just look like that. So that part of it is really hardcore, and I do think there's a massive competitive element to CrossFit.
Yeah.
I've been a few times. I went to one in Arizona. I feel like I've been to a couple other ones, but the one I went to in Arizona, my wife was going there for a while, and the thing that killed me about it was like I went in and I wanted to have kind of a chill workout, but because it was competitive and because I can't shut that off and my ego started
Yeah,
up,
yeah.
I told myself for about the first quarter of the workout that I was going to take it chill, and then some lady was in front of me, and so then I decided to chase her, and then I started doing stupid things, shorting my technique, going harder than I should have, and I would end up dead on the floor every time. And so if your body can handle that and you like that type of feeling, CrossFit's freaking awesome. But that's not all places are like that.
Yeah.
Because CrossFit's an affiliate system, which means that it'd be like if I just opened a gym, but then I wanted to pay CrossFit to be able to use their name and kind of join their community, I could do that. But I'm still the owner of the gym, and I dictate what happens inside that gym.
Yeah.
So yes, they give programming from headquarters, and there's all these different solo businesses that develop CrossFit programming. It's so dependent on who's actually programming, because you could have a really smart coach, because it's still general population that's in a CrossFit gym. It's
Yeah.
still people who are maybe their age range is a little bit younger. Maybe it's 25 to 50-year-olds that are their core market, because usually just you don't see a lot of older people in CrossFit because of how complex the movements are.
Mm-hmm.
They if you get a really smart coach who focuses on squats and deadlifts and you know the basics, then you can put on a ton of muscle and be really healthy while you're there. However, if you get some other people who really like to program to make people die and they're really in love with the Olympic lifts for time, it can be extremely difficult on your body.
Yeah. Oh, for sure.
That being said, I think that CrossFit is extremely popular because of the community. I consider it trauma bonding. Like, you go in, you do really hard stuff. We joke about that here sometimes. After a really hard workout, you're like,
Yeah.
guys, you all trauma bonded.
Mm-hmm.
You know, you see this person at the grocery store a week from now, you're going to be like, hey, I respect you because I know you do hard shit.
Yes.
And that's how CrossFit is too.
Yeah.
The biggest gripe I had with CrossFit was that, at least the one that we were going to, my wife was coming off of having a baby, and she just wanted to put some muscle mass on. She just wanted to work out, lose the baby weight.
Mm-hmm.
And they would have them focusing on doing a lot of things like snatches with the barbell and cleans with the barbell. And the coaches weren't very technically savvy at this one. So that's dependent on the location. So it
Yeah.
might have just been that one. But my argument with those Olympic lifts is that it takes so long to get the technique down before you can use a decent amount of weight on it, that those are not muscle builders for people for quite a long time, especially
Yeah.
if you're new to them. Whereas if you teach somebody how to squat or deadlift or bench press, you're going to be able to go heavy pretty soon and start building muscle mass right away. So that's, I think, the over-reliance on the Olympic lifts, while it's good for people who are already good at it, if you're a newbie, that can be a very frustrating road, and you might not see a bunch of results at first, at least from a muscle mass standpoint.
Yeah. Or might deter you a little bit too.
Yeah.
Intimidating.
Yeah. And it's all dependent on the programming, though, because some
Yeah.
places I think are really randomized and you don't really know what you're walking into. We used to go to the place and it'd be like supposed to be a 40-minute workout, and we'd be there an hour 15, and there'd be people frustrated because they're like, I scheduled something else to do today.
Yeah. What?
But like I said, that place
It depends on the
those
place, yeah.
owners don't own it anymore, so maybe that's a sign that they weren't doing a very good
Yeah.
job.
Yeah. So, I mean, that's not us saying you shouldn't try it, but if you're not, that's not up your alley, maybe find something else.
But as far as pure strength training, like aside from us, which we
Mhm.
don't have multiple locations, so you can't go find us unless you're in Wisconsin.
Yeah.
They're the ones that popularized barbell work and actual strength training, and I think especially popularized it for women.
Yeah. Yeah. Which is super awesome, because I would say there's no other gym I can think of that's anything like that besides smaller gyms like us that are other places that don't have multiple locations.
Yeah, they made the barbell popular again, showed how much you could do with it, like made it really popular to have a big squat and a big deadlift and maybe some of those Olympic lifts. And so you can definitely put on muscle mass doing it, but you just have to be careful about, if you let the gym push you too hard, you might end up in a world of hurt. And that's the thing that they probably get criticized for more than anything, is a lot of chiropractors and physical therapists like to say that CrossFit keeps them in business, because when you're doing things for time and you're doing complex things like snatches, people are just going to screw them up.
Yeah.
And so there's a safety issue there, but that's just, you got to be a smart athlete when you're going to any of these places. So
Oh, for sure.
I think we ragged on CrossFit enough. What do you think?
Oh, I would say so. Yeah. Shout out that.
What about Pure Bar? You ever been to one of those, or a bar studio in general?
No, I have never been. Have you?
No, because when we sat down to research for this, I didn't know what bar was.
Oh, yeah.
I
guess
thought it
you-
was
you did say
Pilates,
that.
but those are two different things.
Well, it says it's like a form of Pilates, but it's like with a bar. So like a ballerina bar.
Yeah, that's what I'm
So it's like
imagining.
you're
It's like my daughter's
balancing.
dance class.
Yeah, but just for
And
adults.
so, but for
I mean,
adults,
I'm sure it's harder than what it sounds like.
oh,
'cause-
I'm sure.
So one thing we didn't think of. So let's like put all of that. I think that putting bar, Pilates, and yoga all
Yeah.
in something would be a good thing to talk about.
Yeah, good call.
So I would say, so I've been to yoga before.
Okay.
Have you been to yoga?
I have been to yoga. I've been to Core Power a long time ago.
Okay, I've never been
And then
there.
I've been to some yoga classes here when we had a yoga
Yes.
instructor.
Yeah. I think
Shout out
yoga
Vic.
is really great. I know that they do make some with weights. I think a lot of times they're heated, I want to say, with the weights.
Yeah.
I could be wrong. Is that, I can't even think what it's called right now. It's not power. What is that called?
No, something like that.
Is
I
it
don't
power yoga?
know. Sculpt.
Sculpt. That's
Sculpt.
what it's called. It's
See,
sculpt.
I know yoga.
Look at you.
I went to a Sculpt yoga class with a girlfriend one time years and years ago. And this was when I was in like my peak bodybuilding type
They're
of, I
hard.
was like physique competitor phase of my life. And I walked in pretty cocky. I was like, this is just stupid girl stuff. You know, I was mid-20s. And there was only one other guy in the class. And it was a Sculpt class. So we pick up some dumbbells. And I'm like, all right, I'll just pick up the next set of dumbbells higher than that other guy because I'm younger and stronger. By the end of the class, my weights are nowhere to be found. And there's all these ladies that are 20 years older than me that still have their weights in hand looking at me like I'm silly because I'm grunting and groaning and dripping everywhere. I got my ass completely kicked. And so if you're thinking that yoga is for like for the weak or for people who just want to stretch, man, they have some really, really difficult classes.
It is, yeah. So that's why I would never like hate on it because it is harder than you think. But it is also like either you like that type of workout or you don't.
Yeah.
But was it heated when you went?
I don't know. I know I was sweating.
Yeah.
But it was in the summer. I have no idea.
Yeah.
It was a blur.
It was all a blur.
Yeah.
Never again. No. But I would say that's good for people because I know a lot of yoga studios, they might have Sculpt one night or they have I feel bad because I don't really quite know all the terminology of it, but I know they'll have some that are a little bit more low key where you do some stretches.
Relax yoga.
Yeah, like more relaxing.
Moon phase yoga.
There you go, moon phase. There you go.
I say there's two different types of yoga out there. There's hippie yoga and there's Lululemon yoga. And if you think about it, there's only those two types, right?
That is actually really true, yeah.
Like if you go into a yoga place, it's either hippie yoga and they got tapestries on the wall and they got like crystals and all that stuff, or they got Lululemon leggings on the wall and a place for you to take a photo.
Yeah. Oh, for sure. That's actually a really good point.
But I think yoga, Pilates, bar, even though I said I don't know much about bar, if it's similar to Pilates, I think the thing that these are really good for is they do so much isolated movement of single muscle groups, especially in like stabilizer muscles. Like if you want your hips to open up, if you want to get really good with your core work and your hip work, your mobility, really making your joints healthy, it seems like this non-loaded isolated movement type of stuff is really good for people.
Yeah.
And so if you were somebody who has hurt your back or has hurt your knees or any of that stuff, you should definitely take a stint with that type of movement because it's movement without the load. So you're already going to give your joints a chance to heal.
Low impact.
And because it's body weight, most of it, its range of motion is the way that you intensify it or that you get better at it over time. And so you're just going to naturally get better at your mobility, I would imagine, in any of those.
Yeah. Oh, for sure. One thing I would say that at least I just see on social media, it's made a point. So like Pilates, for example, I've been to Pilates where they have the reformer. It's like that little like almost like machine thing on a cable
like
that you use. I don't know.
It's like a
it's like a
skateboard
carriage.
on
It's like they call it like a little carriage, I think.
Okay.
But it's harder than you think. But one thing, like a gripe I have, and it's not that Pilates themselves say it, it's people that do Pilates. They will tell you that, well, this is where I got strong and all my strength training came from. You know, like that's what they claim, that it's like strength training, which is so not the case because, you're working all these smaller muscles and you're strengthening parts that you were talking about. But it's very different. Like you would not grow big quads or like big biceps doing Pilates. Like you just wouldn't. So a lot of these people you see online that are telling you that, they have a background in strength training that they've worked on and they just started picking up Pilates. And ironically, their body already looks like that because they were doing strength training. Yeah. So that's like the biggest gripe I have of people doing it because don't think you're going to look like a big, strong, like bodybuilder doing Pilates because you're not going to.
Yep. That's a great point. And almost any time that somebody's got above average amount of muscle mass on them, unless they were an athlete in the past and they've just kept it, they've done their work in the weight room.
Yeah.
And although I think probably what you were talking about, somebody could say that they found access to their strength and they found access to full range of motion with those big muscles. If I'm lifting a bunch and I don't pay attention to my mobility, I do get weaker sometimes because my body's starting to shut me down because it feels like it's overloaded.
Yep.
And sometimes the mobility work allows me to feel strong in athletic ranges of motion. And so I could totally see somebody who hits the weights really hard, they get really stiff, they actually don't feel athletic anymore, they don't feel like they can use the strength that they've gained. Then they go to something like a yoga, a Pilates, a bar, and they regain that mobility and that strength stays. And so now they have access to it at range, which is basically what athleticism is. So I think you can totally unravel some of the issues with weightlifting with these places.
Oh, for sure. And I think even if it's something you're wanting to get into of working out, but you're a little nervous of, maybe you think it is more of a bro place to go to a big box gym, or you're nervous of going to a group fitness gym, something like that's nice too, of Pilates and yoga, because it is more low key. Like no one's yelling at you. Like it's very calm. And I actually was shocked how much I really liked that, because I'm not in a calm community myself. Here we're all, all over the place. So being somewhere like that, it depends upon the person, of course, but it is person to person.
So awkward for me when every time I go to a yoga class. Still, I'm not entirely sure when I'm supposed to shut up and when I'm allowed to talk again. And I guess I could just not talk.
I think you should talk.
I just But even we took one in this gym, and I was like sitting there afterwards. I'm like, so can we talk now, or am I supposed to? Are people still meditating? I don't understand it. But
like I said, it's for only certain people, and you might not be the one. I'm just kidding, Nick.
I just got to practice more.
Yeah.
What about cycle? You ever done spin?
Okay, not specifically went to a spin class, but I went
Mhm.
to a class once that was 20 minutes of cycle,
Okay.
20 minutes of strength training, and 20 minutes of yoga.
What'd they call it?
Spanga.
Spenga.
Have you ever heard of Spanga?
Sounds like something you put in your coffee.
Yes, Splenda.
Splenda. Yeah.
Well, it was actually really interesting, but I remember I was kind of like you. I walked into it as you did with yoga sculpt, thinking like, oh, I can do this. And that's 110% what I thought of. And cycling is not for the weak. That's for sure. I was very impressed of, it is quite a workout and it is a lot harder than you think, but I've never actually done a full cycle class, but I think it's intriguing. Good cardio.
I've never gone because it terrifies me. I feel like I've got about 10 minutes in me, and then what I'm doing for the rest of the hour is just watching everybody else.
Have you seen the ones where they're like banging on the handles and they like
Yeah,
sit
and they
up?
just go up, down in their seats and
I
everything.
think it looks like a vibe, but it seems
Oh.
really hard.
I think the most amazing thing about those spin classes is the coaches.
Yeah.
The
energy.
So there was a girl who worked for me at F45 who was also a spin instructor, and I would see videos from her spin classes, and she was screaming, spinning, and the only time that she spent off the bike, she was a former ASU cheerleader, I believe, and she would do backflips in the middle of class.
What?
And she would do that for 3 classes in a row. I don't get it.
The endurance.
I
that
barely
girl
go through
has
the demos
crazy.
anymore because I don't want to
Yeah, we
waste my
fall out of
energy,
breath.
you know?
But that I think that's a huge point is the endurance built, and especially as the coaches, it's pretty impressive. You got to
Yeah.
give them some credit. But even the people that go there, because it is of all ages, and that's what I think is also really unique about it too, is because that's not an easy thing to do.
I think you can build sufficient muscle mass on your legs doing spin
Get some
though,
nice
because
calves.
you can jack that resistance up.
Yeah.
And if you're doing classes where they make you sprint, like if you want to see big quads, look up people who are track cyclists, meaning that they do like the cycling on like super fast cycling on like a curved bank track where they're actually sprinting. If you're sprinting on a spin bike, you can put on massive leg mass. Upper body likely not going to happen.
Oh.
I would say that spin is something that you can probably do over and over and over again without beating up your body too much. It's just so low impact on your joints that unless you're really cranking on that bike, you're probably going to be able to wake up and do it the next day. So as far as consistency of training, it's probably great for a lot of people. And almost anybody can hop on a bike. There's a ton of people who can't run who can hop on a bike.
Yeah.
And
for sure.
So why not? Movement's movement.
Looks like we have to go to a spin class sometime.
Yeah, you go first and tell me how it is. No, I'm down. We should probably go to some of these places. Now just to wrap this up, though, I think whatever you're looking for, almost all these places are going to give you a free class. Go try it. Don't be scared of it.
Yeah.
And just the biggest barrier for most people to get into working out is always the gym intimidation, thinking that you're going to be looked at, especially a lot of these class places. Nobody gives a crap what you're doing because they're focused on what they're doing, and the coaches are there to help you. And so even if you can only do half the stuff, that's where some people start, and you're never going to get better if you don't start something. So
Exactly.
don't be scared of these places.
Something's better than nothing, and they are there to support you. And most of the time, those communities are just super excited to have new people in there trying it. Because remember, everyone else started somewhere too. So if they're coming in, you have no idea. They could have been way lower of an activity level than you are
Yeah.
coming in.
Yep.
So I just think I think the community part is really helpful too, because you are showing up and you might be the reason someone else showed up because they saw your name signed up for
Yeah.
class. And I think that's really cool.
A lot of our members have like text groups, and
Yeah.
and they're already like arranging like, hey, I'm going to be there, and they're like, oh, I'm not going. Oh yeah, you're going, and then they convince each other to go, and that's that's not even something we
I'm
have our
picking
hands
you
in.
up.
It's just a byproduct.
Yeah.
My little spiel on Strength Academy now that we're done with all that is one of the things that we don't see on here besides CrossFit, and we already talked about some of the issues that are there with CrossFit. I think the most underserved both side of fitness and population is general population. So meaning like, let's call it the 30 to 50-year-old people who have a career and family, and they just want to put on some muscle, and they just want to look better naked, and they don't necessarily want to run themselves silly. They need a place that teaches strength training. And of all these national chains we just listed off, I was looking, I can't find one that teaches strength training. And that's what Strength Academy was built for. And if you really want to put on muscle mass and you don't have access to a strength academy, because almost nobody does, or you're not comfortable going into a 24/7 gym, the thing you have to keep in mind is in order to put on muscle mass, you have to improve how much you can lift over time, and you have to take enough rest time, because the equation is, all right, I'm going to lift something, I'm going to push myself to my maximum, either lifting as heavy as I can for this many reps, or lifting as many reps as I can with a certain amount of weight, and then I'm going to rest long enough, and I'm going to see if I can repeat that performance. But if you don't rest long enough, then you're just not going to lift as heavy, and you're not going to see the muscular gain. And so that's the thing that we're hoping to fix.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. And I think of how much of a difference it has made here, and not even just in our members, but ourselves too. I mean, I've
yeah.
never done
You've
this much of
stacked a
strength
ton of
training like
muscle
this,
on.
and it's crazy. And it's consistent, and it can be done in group fitness classes. So I know a lot of people harp like, oh, group fitness classes, you can't gain muscle. Well, you haven't
Yeah.
been going to the right group fitness. So I shouldn't even say right, but no, I am saying that.
And I would say, even though I believed in the strength training methodology and what we were about to do, I didn't know it was working until 6 months in, and then I was for sure it was working a year in, because
Oh,
it takes
yeah.
that long to build muscle that you can actually see and see a big change. Yeah, you might get those newbie gains, but real muscle that stays on you. People who are around after 6 months, I looked at the people around, and not only were people losing weight, but they were just so freaking strong, and their muscles in their back were suddenly popping out. And then a year later, people who stuck with it for a year, their bodies were completely different.
Yeah.
And so you got to give it time, and you actually got to put the work in on the weights. If you're going to a place and all they have is 20, 30-pound dumbbells, like, yes, it's a great place to get a workout. It's a great place to exercise. It's a great place for movement, but you're just probably going to be limited on how strong you can really get.
For sure. And I would say just show up. Like, just go somewhere and try it. Like, you never know till you try.
Yeah. Anything else?
That's it.
Guys, get moving. Doesn't matter where you go. Get moving if you haven't. And then if you are going to a 24/7 gym and you're like, I don't know what to do and I need a plan. Well, we have our app. You can go and find a ton of different strength programs on there. We always divide things up. We either have hypertrophy programs, which is just a fancy word for putting on muscle mass. We have strength programs, just getting stronger on our base movements. And we have power programs, which are going to help you keep your athletic ability and just do some fun lifting in the gym. And so you can pick from those. And we probably have at least 10 programs on there now. And we develop a new program every month. So it's just going to have a ton of stuff. And you should go to our website, www.strengthacademyrf.com, and you can sign up and check that out. And one of the coaches will text you as soon as you hop in there to see like what you're looking for and point you to the right program.
Yeah, you can do what the heck we're doing in here. It's pretty cool.
Yeah. Matrace, where can they find you and your lifting journey?
You can find me on Instagram at matracafit, MATRACAFIT.
And you can find me at Nick, Nick, _Byom, BYOM. Follow my 60-day fast food experiment where I'm eating only fast food. You can find all of our Strength Academy stuff either at Strength Academy RF on Instagram or at Strength Academy 101 everywhere else. You definitely got to check us out on YouTube, because that's where you're going to find this podcast and a bunch of different shorts with tidbits of information. That's Strength 101. Strength 101. Peace out.
See you next week.